Umsteige zu D, 7a, 11a, 38a.
I had the chance to follow my father to UNESCO. I went in the early 70s and the building was 10 years old, made by the best architects, best modern artists like Picasso, Miro, Giacometti, Calder. So I was there, I was 5 years old in this building, which was a kind of own world with so many nationalities. I was aware of this globalization, about the multicultural surrounding. It was a kind of a dreaming land, and every artist interaction at that time they were part of the building. It was kind of very protected space with beauty, a very logical way to interact with art, not like in museums, when art is there for a determinate time. In the building, and reminds me a little bit UNESCO with this big hall entrance. I tried to work with the space and to add things which could have been done before it was built, to add things which are completely part of the structure and part of the architecture. For me, it's very important. I think art should be a way of living, but connected to how we experience architecture, not just as a decorative thing in the center of a wall, or it's a way to live with it. Very first line on an empty wall is like, I don't ski, but it's like, I imagine it's like to ski on outside in a very wild place without any traces, marks. It's pure white snow, and I just add this line. And after I have to build a kind of city on this line, to construct things. You have to think that the 70s you were spending so much time outside. There was no internet, no games, no videos, not these things. So you had to find your own fantasy and to interact out of your home. So it was a city, and I was interacting with the city as skateboarding. I had this golden age of the city, and it was the golden age. It's not anymore.
We live in a world where buying and consuming are topics we're taught from a young age. Every day there are thousands of ads telling us to buy new clothes, a new phone, a new everything, while our not necessarily old things are still working. We are told that these new things will improve our lives and that they will make everything easier. No one tells us that with our consumption habit, we destroy so much of the things which are very valuable to us and which we love. Planet Earth can't sustain our way of living in Western societies. In rich countries like Austria, we take so many valuable resources from our Earth that we would need 3 Earths to comfort these needs. Which means that if we would really commit to live in a sustainable way, we would need to cut our consumptions down to 1/3 of what we are consuming now. If we continue the way we are living and consuming now, we are rushing ourselves to a point where our own existence and species is endangered. Scientists have warned us for several decades and told us that our way of living will have drastic consequences, and still we continue without a doubt. Even though we as consumers can do the easy thing, which would be to stop buying things that we do not really need, our impact is relatively small when you consider that only 100 companies are responsible for at least 70% of the global CO2 emissions. These companies are not only responsible for the CO2 emissions, but these enormous emissions go along with the exploitation of humans and nature. Also, in many parts of Austria, the old houses, which are often located in the center of small villages, are empty, and many new houses are newly built, as well as shopping centers in every bigger municipality, although existing buildings and space could easily be reused. With all of that in mind, we as a society need to go back to what's necessary and to the things that will make us feel good in the long run. Social sciences have found out that if we as humans have our basic needs fulfilled, buying more doesn't make us happier. So many things are reusable and shareable. Every day, new technologies are invented that intend to make the process of getting out of this overall consumerism cycle much easier.
But my work is quite similar than the skateboarding activity because I use the space, I use the specificities of the wall, and I develop my lines as you can develop tricks. Well, the trick itself is not very important because you do it like 1,000 and 1,000 times, the same trick. The place you do it change always, so it's always an adaptation. It was a total engagement with the body and the architecture, interacting with the city in a different way than the people use it. People that are taking corridor and walking always in the same way, and you always try to find another direction, use diagonals and to change the functionality, of things. We are looking for construction sites inside the city, in between spaces, when we can use things, materials, bricks or tubes, and make kind of structure when we can make some tricks. And this kind of construction were similar to build utopic towers. Not towers where you are living, like huge building, but towers like electric towers, observatory towers, oil tower. It's a huge symbol, and I like this symbol, this triangular symbol. I like it, so I try to add it. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes it's in front of a composition. Architecture is about precision, When you see a plan, if you miss 1 centimeter, the wall will fall, and all the house. So gravity is a high command point. You always try to not fall, but on the wall I always feel secure. I have my marker. When I have a chance to have a high ceiling, I use a ladder, like sometimes it's 5-6 meters ladder. The highest experiences of freedom are in this site-specific project, drawing on floor, walls, or glasses. I was not a good skateboarder, I have to say it. I'm a better drawer, and the way I develop lines are always similar. I find I'm looking for corners, angles, electric plugs, windows, and I add my trick, and I play with the space. The history of painting is to work on the canvases. It's quite recent. And drawing on walls, it's coming from the cave age, It's the longest past activity for human to draw on walls. The marker for me allows me to make long straight lines and to involve more my body and my breath on a long distance. It's a way to give a new meaning to places by drawing on with a functionality in the drawing, to adapt it. Before adding the lines, when I look and I discover a place, I don't look at the functionality of things. I see plugs and windows, and I don't think about why they are here and what they are used for. I see everything on the same level as a grid. A plug could become a building, or a window corner could be the angle of a swimming pool, or a border, a window could be a horizontal line like a desert. There is no end in this process. It's always a new challenge, a new story, a new adventure with the space. But you change the meaning and the functionality of things that you use every day. I do it by drawing.